wedding was the next day. We stood on the balcony, and then he told me something that completely broke me. I met Ethan 5 years ago on the first day of college. He was the kind of guy who made the air shift when he walked into a room. Messy dark hair, that easy half smile, and this quiet confidence that didn't try too hard to impress anyone. We were paired for a freshman writing seminar project, and by the second meeting, we were already talking like old friends. I don't know when it happened exactly. Maybe somewhere between 2 a.m. coffee runs and late-night editing sessions. But I started feeling something more, and I buried it, fast, because Ethan wasn't like me. He had a girlfriend back home, Emily, long distance, loyal, serious, the kind of love that people root for. So I stayed in my lane. We stayed best friends through it all, his breakups and makeups, my failed almost relationships, late-night movie nights, road trips, and way too many accidental sleepovers on my couch. And yeah, sometimes it felt like he looked at me for a little too long, like he lingered when we hugged. But I told myself it didn't mean anything, because Ethan loved Emily. And people like me don't get to end up with guys like him. Fast forward to last summer. I was 2 years out of college, working in publishing in Boston, finally getting my life together in some decent shape. Ethan had moved to New York, working in corporate design. We still talked all the time, but it wasn't until he texted me one random Tuesday night that I realized something big was up. Got news. Huge. You're going to be mad I didn't tell you sooner. Okay, suspense much? I'm getting married. I stared at the screen for a long time before typing anything back. Wow. To Emily? Yeah, it's happening. December. Congratulations, man. That's amazing. He asked me to be his best man, and I said yes. Of course I did, because saying no would mean explaining everything I'd spent years denying. I met Emily once, at a brunch in Brooklyn. She was beautiful, bright, smart, the kind of person who made you feel small without even trying. Ethan watched her like she was art. Or maybe I was just projecting that, because it was easier than believing what I really saw, that Ethan was happy, that I didn't matter like that. Still, at the brunch, there were these moments, flickers, like when Emily got to take a call, and Ethan turned to me, saying, "You remember that night sophomore year, the storm and the blackout?" I laughed. "You mean when you slept on the floor because you were too scared my bed was too small?" He smiled. It wasn't the size I was scared of. I froze, and he looked away. The wedding weekend arrived faster than I thought it would. I flew in, stayed in a small Airbnb outside the city, and tried not to panic every time I saw Ethan in his tux, looking like the man I couldn't stop loving. I kept telling myself I was being dramatic, that this was just nostalgia and longing and confusion, stirred up by too many years of pretending. But then the rehearsal dinner happened, and everything broke open. The dinner was fancy, too fancy. Candlelit rooftop, string lights, speeches, and champagne. I kept trying to stay invisible, fulfill my best man duties, smile politely, and not make this about me. But Ethan kept looking over, like he couldn't help it. And at some point, his hand brushed mine under the table. Not long, not obvious, just enough for my heart to lose its rhythm. Later, when everyone else was distracted with dessert and toasts, he leaned in and whispered, "Meet me tonight, after midnight, by the docks." I turned confused. "Why?" "Because I need to tell you something before tomorrow." I left the party early. I sat in the Airbnb with the lights off, staring at the clock as the hours crawled toward midnight. I thought about every moment, every missed signal, every look, every almost touch. I should have walked away, stayed out of it, let him marry the woman he chose. But I couldn't. So at 12:07 a.m., I walked to the docks. He was already there, hands in his pockets, suit jacket gone, shirt sleeves rolled up. He looked nervous. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey." He hesitated. "I didn't think you'd come." "Then why ask?" He gave a small, broken laugh. "Because I needed to say it to someone who actually knows me." The silence that followed felt thick, like the air was holding its breath. Then he said it. "I'm not in love with her." I froze. He kept going. I mean, I love her. I do. She's kind. She's loyal. She's perfect. But I'm not in love with her. So why are you marrying her? I asked, voice barely steady. Because I thought I was supposed to. Because it's easier than disappointing everyone. Because I've spent years trying to live a life that doesn't make me feel like a fraud. He looked up at me, and his eyes, they were glassy, vulnerable. But tonight, when I saw you across the table, I realized I'd rather run from the altar than spend the rest of my life pretending I don't love you. I couldn't breathe. I've always loved you, he whispered. I felt my hands shake. You what? I didn't know it was back then. I thought it would pass. I thought maybe if I loved Emily hard enough, it would fix me. But it didn't, because you were always there in the back of my mind. Every time I imagined my future, you were in it, not her. I wanted to yell, or cry, or kiss him, or hit him. But all I said was, it's the night before your wedding, Ethan. I know. And you're telling me this now? Because if I don't say it now, I never will. I wish I could say I kissed him. I wish I could say we ran off together and lived happily ever after. But I didn't, and we didn't. Instead, I walked away because I needed to breathe, to think, to feel something that wasn't aching. He didn't follow me, and I think that broke me more than anything else. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I put on the best man tux. I showed up. I smiled. I handed him the rings, and I waited for him to say, I do. But he didn't. He stood there, looking at Emily, then looking at the crowd. Then he looked at me and said, I'm sorry. He walked out. Emily cried. Her parents shouted. But me? I just stood there, heart racing, because he chose truth over comfort. And maybe he chose me. That was 6 months ago. We've been taking it slow, figuring things out, unlearning fear and relearning trust. It's not perfect, but it's real. And if you've ever felt something for someone you weren't supposed to, if you've ever buried a love because the world said it didn't belong, let this be your sign. Sometimes the truth comes out at midnight. Sometimes it's messy, but it's always worth hearing. If this story hit you in the heart, stick around, there's more coming. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next emotional journey. Your voice matters. Your story is valid, and your heart deserves to be seen. The worst part wasn't watching him walk out of his wedding. It was the silence afterward, the kind that settles not just into a room, but into your chest. No one knew what to say. Emily's sobs echoed through the church while the crowd stayed, frozen in shock. Her mother tried to go after him, but someone stopped her. His parents just sat there, and me? I stood at the front, the best man without a groom, feeling like I'd been hit by a train I saw coming hours ago. Ethan didn't text me that day, or that night, or the next day. For 72 hours, there was nothing, no explanation, no apology, no sign that the man who confessed everything to me at midnight even existed. And for those 72 hours, I started to believe maybe it had all been in my head. By day 4, I went back to Boston. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't stay in that town, passing strangers who recognized me from that wedding disaster, pretending I wasn't part of the wreckage. I blocked out everything, turned off my phone, skipped work, ignored the world. But my mind replayed everything. His words, his voice, his eyes when he said he loved me. I'd rather run from the altar than pretend I don't love you. But then he did run, and he didn't come back. Not to me. Not yet. A week passed before I finally unlocked my phone. There were 3 missed calls, 2 from his number, 1 from a private line, and 1 message. I didn't know how to come back from this. I'm not sure if I still do, but I miss you, and I need to see you. I stared at it for a full hour. I didn't reply. Not yet. Not because I didn't want to, but because some part of me was still hurt, still scared he'd say he loved me again, only to run the second it got hard. He showed up at my apartment 3 days later. No warning, no text, just a knock on my door at 8:43 p.m. I almost didn't open it, but I did, and there he was, Ethan, wearing an old hoodie, Hair mess. Eyes tired but soft. He looked like hell. And still, somehow like home. "Hi," he said. "You can't just disappear and then show up like this. I know. You left me there, Ethan, alone, after everything." He swallowed hard. "I wasn't ready to face you, or myself, or what I did to Emily, to everyone." I folded my arms. "So why now?" He stepped forward, slower than usual, careful, because every time I tried to fix it in my head, I ended up thinking about you. Every apology I rehearsed, every plan I made, it all ended with me here, with you. I wanted to yell. I wanted to cry. I wanted to slam the door in his face. Instead, I opened it wider. "Come in." We sat on the floor of my living room, backs against the couch, both of us holding mugs of cold coffee we never sipped. He told me everything. That after he left the wedding, he went to a motel an hour outside the city, spent days there in the dark with his phone off. He called his parents first, told them the truth, told them about me. They didn't take it well. His mom cried. His dad didn't say much. There were no threats or disowning, just disappointment. That quiet, suffocating kind. Then he called Emily. She didn't yell, didn't scream. She just said, "I knew." She knew. I asked. Yeah. She said she'd always known, in a way. Said she was hoping I'd come around eventually. I nodded slowly. That must have been hard. He looked down at his hands. The hardest part was realizing I wasn't the only one lying. We sat in silence. Then he looked at me. "I'm not here to ask you to forgive me. I'm not here to pretend that one moment at midnight makes up for 5 years of mixed signals. I'm here because I love you. Still, fully, messily. And I need you to know that before I figure out what comes next." I didn't know what to say. So I reached over and took his hand. And this time, he didn't let go. We didn't call it getting back together. There was nothing to get back to. We had never really had a start. So we called it something else. We called it trying. Trying to talk without old patterns. Trying to heal without blaming. Trying to build something honest. He moved to Boston. Not for me. He made that clear. But because he needed space from everything. From the life that expected him to perform, to hide, to stay clean-cut and proper. He got a job at a small creative firm. Started drawing again. We started having weekly dinners. Not dates. Just company. Some nights we'd talk for hours. Others, we'd watch TV in silence and not say anything at all. And it felt like healing. Not sudden, not cinematic, but slow, real. 2 months in, he finally kissed me. Not rushed, not desperate, just gentle. He was dropping off a book I'd lent him. I thanked him. He smiled, and before I could turn, he leaned in like he'd been waiting to for years and pressed his lips to mine. It lasted 5 seconds, but my whole world shifted. When we pulled away, he whispered, "I've been wanting to do that since freshman year." I laughed softly. "Took you long enough. Now, we don't talk about the wedding much. Or Emily. Or what happened at the altar. It's not because we're pretending it didn't happen. It's because we've learned to let it live in the past. We still have tough days. He still worries about how his parents see him. I still get scared he'll disappear again. But he doesn't. He stays. When I panic, he holds my hand. When he panics, I sit with him. It's not about grand gestures anymore. It's about presence. One night, a few weeks ago, he turned to me in bed and whispered, "Do you think I was selfish?" When? That night at the docks. Telling you I loved you right before my wedding. I thought for a moment, then said, "No, I think you were finally brave. Even if it hurt people, sometimes the truth does." He didn't respond for a long time. Then he whispered, "I wish I had told you sooner." Me too. But we didn't need sooner anymore. We had now. If you're listening to this and wondering if that friend you've been trying not to love feels the same, if you're scared to say the words that have been living in your chest for years, or if someone once chose comfort over you, and you're still trying to understand why, just know this. Some love stories don't start when 2 people meet. They start when they finally stop lying to themselves, even if it takes years. Even if it takes a midnight confession and a runaway groom. Even if it starts with heartbreak. Some stories, the real ones, begin exactly when they're supposed to. And maybe this is ours. I should have known the past wouldn't let him go that easily. We were doing well, better than either of us expected. Ethan had finally started to laugh again, freely, like his whole chest was behind it. He'd stop double-checking his phone every few minutes, like he was waiting for bad news. And for the first time since the wedding, I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, we had a real shot at this. But peace always has a price. And sometimes, the past shows up at your door without knocking. That day started like any other, casual coffee, some small edits on a client project. Ethan humming some dumb song in the background. He was getting ready to meet me for lunch. But then his phone rang. And when I looked at the screen, I saw her name. Emily. He didn't answer. At first. Then, just before walking out the door, he turned around, phone still ringing in his hand. Should I pick up? I mean, it's your past. You get to choose what to do with it. He stared at the screen one more second, then answered. Hello. I watched his face shift in real time. From neutral to tight, defensive, then something else I couldn't place. After a few seconds, he walked into the bedroom and closed the door. And for the first time since he came back, I felt the distance again. He didn't talk about the call during lunch. Didn't mention her name or what she wanted. He laughed, joked, kissed my cheek in public, a first, and acted like nothing happened. But I felt it, like a crack under fresh paint. You okay? I asked. Yeah, I'm good. I didn't press. Not that day. But the next morning, he was already awake when I got up, fully dressed, sitting on the edge of the bed, hands clasped. She's in town, he said quietly. Emily? Yeah, she wants to meet. I nodded slowly. And I think I should. I leaned against the doorframe. Why? Because I owe her answers. And because I think I need them too. He looked up at me, eyes unsure. Unless you don't want me to go. That made me pause, because part of me didn't. Part of me wanted to keep the past sealed shut, to pretend like the fallout of his runaway groom act was behind us. But love, real love, doesn't survive in sealed boxes. So I nodded. Go. Just don't lie to me afterward. He smiled. Never again. He met her at a quiet park outside the city. He didn't tell me much when he got back that night. Just that she looked different. Sadder, but stronger, too. She didn't yell, didn't cry. She asked one question. Why am... And Ethan told her the truth. That I had been the constant. That I was the person he loved when no one was watching. That choosing her had always been about expectation, not desire. She told him she already knew. And then she handed him something. A small black envelope. No name. No return address. Just a wax seal. Cracked open. What is it? I asked him later that night. She wouldn't say. Said it came a few days after the wedding. Did you open it? Not yet. It feels off. He tossed it on the counter, like it was something fragile. Dangerous. I picked it up. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. 2 men. Us. From behind. Sitting at the dock the night before the wedding. Someone had taken it from far away, maybe behind a tree, maybe with a zoom lens. It was grainy, but it was us. And on the back, in red ink, you think you're free now? Watch your back. My stomach dropped. Ethan just stared at it, face pale. I thought this was over, he whispered. The next few days were tense. Not because we were hiding something, but because we didn't know who had been watching. Emily didn't recognize the handwriting. Said it had come in a blank envelope, delivered to her old apartment. No postage. Whoever sent it had gone out of their way to stay invisible. We thought about calling the police. But what would we say? Hi, we got a creepy photo in the mail after my fiancé left me for another man. Can you investigate? We both knew it would go nowhere. So instead, we tried to move on. But that night, Ethan double-checked the locks twice. and I started sleeping with my phone within reach. I think that's when I realized how trauma doesn't leave you with a bang. It lingers in glances over your shoulder, in the way your hand tenses on doorknobs, in the way your smile dims just a little when someone says your name. Still, we didn't stop living. We still cooked dinner together, still danced in the kitchen to dumb 90s music, still made each other laugh when it mattered most. But something had shifted. A door had opened, and we couldn't unsee what was on the other side. A week later, Ethan got another envelope. This one was slid under his car windshield. Inside, a single piece of notebook paper. Everyone knows. You're not safe. He's not either. No name. No signature. Just that. We went to the police this time. They took down the report. Told us to install security cameras. Said there wasn't much they could do unless there was a direct threat or someone physically harmed us. We walked out of the station feeling more exposed and protected. Do you think it's someone we know? I asked him. I don't know. But we both had the same thought. Her brother, Emily's older brother, Nathan, had never liked Ethan. He was vocal, aggressive, traditional, and the night after the wedding, he'd apparently gone on a tirade at her house. We hadn't seen him since. But it made sense. Too much sense. Ethan didn't want to confront him. He said it would only make things worse. So we waited. Days passed. No new notes. No photos. We started to breathe again. Until one night, we came home and found the door to my apartment unlocked. We froze. The lights were still off. Inside, nothing looked touched. No drawers open. No signs of forced entry. But on the counter, another Polaroid. Of us. Sleeping. The angle was close. Too close. My heart dropped. This wasn't a warning. This was a promise. Someone had been inside. We packed bags that night. Went to a friend's place out of town. Just for a few days. The police took things more seriously this time. Said it could be stalking. Suggested staying somewhere safe. We spent the weekend in that small house near the woods. Not saying much. Mostly just holding each other. I don't think I ever realized how sacred silence could be when it's shared. When it's safe. When it comes from being understood. We didn't need to talk about fear anymore. We just needed to survive it. Together. On the third night, Ethan turned to me in bed and whispered, "Do you regret it?" "What?" "Me. Us. All of it." I looked at him. At the man who once stood at the altar, nearly gave his life to someone he didn't love, and then risked everything to be honest. I'd go through every photo, every threat, every second of this again, just to be where we are now. He didn't cry, but his hand gripped mine tighter. And for once, we both slept through the night. No nightmares. No knocks. Just a quiet rhythm of two hearts still beating, still hoping, still choosing each other. We came back to the city 4 days later. Nothing had happened in our absence. No new notes. No broken windows. No anonymous messages. The apartment looked the same. Same pillows. Same dishes in the sink. Same unopened box of cereal by the fridge. But we weren't the same. Coming back after hiding makes everything look sharper. Like the world moves too fast, and you're just trying to keep up. Ethan held my hand when we walked through the door. Didn't let go, even when we passed the couch. Even when we stood in silence in the kitchen, both of us pretending this place still felt like home. "You sure about this?" I asked. "No," he said, "but I'm more sure about you than I've ever been about anything." That should have felt comforting, but it didn't, because for the first time, I started asking myself questions I hadn't before. What if we weren't just a target? What if we were being hunted? And what if loving him came with a cost I hadn't prepared for? 2 nights later, I found him sitting in the living room at 3 a.m., scrolling through his phone, jaw clenched, eyes distant. "Can't sleep?" I asked. "Got an idea," he said. "Might be stupid." He turned the phone toward me. An Instagram page. Private account. Profile picture was blank. Username looked like gibberish. But the bio read, "Truth_hurts for you. Truth always finds a way." He clicked request. Waited. "What is this?" I asked. Something Emily mentioned. Said someone sent her DMs from that account before the wedding. Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought it was just trolling. But now, I'm not sure. The request got accepted 10 minutes later. We both stared at the screen. Only 2 posts. One was a meme about fake people. The other was a screenshot, a blurry image of Ethan and me from freshman year, sitting close together at some party, mid-laugh, my head tilted slightly toward his shoulder. Caption, it was always him. Y'all just didn't look hard enough. We both froze. How do they even have that? I whispered, I don't know. The comments were off. No likes. No followers. Ethan messaged them. Just one line. Who are you? No reply. Not that night. But the next morning, he woke up to a voice message. 18 seconds. No name. No context. We listened to it together. It was distorted, masked by static, but just clear enough. You can pretend you've moved on. But people like you don't get to run forever. Keep your doors locked. Or don't. Doesn't matter. I felt cold. Not just scared. Watched. Like we'd never been alone. Like every touch, every kiss, every soft glance between us had been recorded by someone who wanted to ruin it. We need help, I said. From who? The cops already wrote us off. Then we go to someone who won't. It was Ethan's idea to talk to Emily, not because he wanted to reopen old wounds, but because if anyone else had gotten messages, or worse, she needed to be part of it. She met us at a coffee shop outside town, wearing all black, no makeup, hair pulled back tight. She looked exhausted, like someone trying too hard not to break. She didn't say much at first, just sipped her drink and looked between us like she wasn't sure who to talk to anymore. Then she took a deep breath. I think it's my brother, she said quietly. Nathan? Ethan asked. She nodded. He was acting weird even before the wedding. Would ask questions about you. Get agitated when I mention your name. After everything fell apart. He got worse. Real paranoid. Started talking about family shame. Said you infected something good. I felt sick. And the envelope? I asked. The photos? She hesitated. He never admitted it. But I found old printouts in his garage. Photos. Of you. Of your apartment. Ethan clenched his jaw. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? She looked down. Because I wasn't ready to see him that way. And because some part of me was still hoping you'd change your mind. Silence. Not angry. Just full of the truth none of us had wanted to say. So what do we do now? I asked. She looked at me, eyes tired. You protect yourselves. And if he reaches out again, you come to me. That night, Ethan and I went through everything. The messages, the voice note, the photos. We documented it all. Sent it to a lawyer friend. Started the process of building a real case, even if nothing had happened yet. It felt strange, this combination of fear and safety. Knowing we were being hunted, but also knowing we weren't alone anymore. We weren't hiding. We weren't lying. We weren't running. And even though the threat hadn't disappeared, neither had our love. 1 week later, it happened. I was home alone. Ethan had gone to grab groceries. Said he'd be back in 15. It was just after sunset. The golden hour. That soft light that turns everything warm, even fear. Then the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I peeked through the peephole. No one. But on the ground was a package, wrapped in brown paper. No label. I brought it inside carefully. Unwrapped it. Inside, a single flash drive. No note. No explanation. Just that. I plugged it into my laptop. One file. A video. It started with static. Then a shaky handheld shot. A car pulling up outside my apartment. Nighttime. Ethan stepping out. Walking toward the door. The camera zoomed in on him. Then panned upward. To me. In the window. Looking down. I remember that night. A week ago. We'd just come home from dinner. I'd gone upstairs while he parked. I had no idea anyone was filming. Then the video glitched. And a message flashed in bold white letters. He should have married her. I slammed the laptop shut. My hands were shaking. I called Ethan. He picked up Immediately. What's wrong? Come home. Now. He got there in under 10 minutes. Saw the flash drive, watched the video, and didn't say a word. Just stood there, breathing hard, fists clenched. Then he turned to me and said something I didn't expect. Let's leave. What? Let's go. Somewhere else. Just for a while. Until this stops. You think we can just run? I don't want to run. I want to breathe. I want to love you without feeling like I'm doing something wrong. I looked at him. At the man who had walked out of a wedding to chase the truth. At the man who was still learning how to live it. Okay, I said. Yeah. Let's go. We left the next day. Not far, just a cabin by the lake. No Wi-Fi. No noise. Just trees and silence and stars. For the first time in weeks, we felt alone. In a good way. He held my hand on the dock at night. We cooked bad meals together. We kissed under moonlight, like no one had ever watched us. Because for once, maybe no one was. The threats didn't stop. But we weren't afraid anymore. Because we had each other. And when love is real, when it's stripped of fear and shame, it doesn't matter who's watching. What matters is who stays. And he stayed. Every night. Even now. Even still. It's strange what you remember when everything finally gets quiet. For Ethan, it was the sound of gravel under tires. That crunching noise when his dad's car pulled into their driveway every evening. The slam of the door. The pause before footsteps hit the porch. A pause that told him whether to hide or smile. He never hit me. Ethan said one night, as we lay on the wooden deck of the lake cabin, stars pulsing above us. I know, I whispered, but silence can hurt too. He turned his head toward me. I think I learned to lie not because I wanted to, but because I thought truth would destroy everything. That stuck with me. Not just the words, the way he said them, like he wasn't asking for pity, just understanding. And I gave it, silently, with a hand sliding into his. We didn't say anything for a while, but I knew something had shifted again. This trip wasn't just an escape. It was a reckoning. We'd been at the lake for 6 days when the call came. Blocked number. Mid-morning. Ethan answered. I watched his face go pale, then tighten. He didn't speak, just listened. Eyes locked on the floor. Breath held. Then he hung up. Who was it? Emily. Again. She said her brother's missing. That stopped me cold. Since when? 2 days. She found his apartment door wide open last night. Said it didn't look like a break-in. Just abandoned, like he vanished. Do you think he's faking it? Disappearing to mess with us? Ethan shook his head. She sounded scared. Said he's been paranoid lately. Kept talking about being watched. Said someone was following him. Now it was my turn to freeze. What if it wasn't just about us? Ethan looked up slowly. What if someone's playing all of us? We left the lake cabin that afternoon. It felt too soon, like coming back from a dream you didn't want to end. But there was no peace in hiding anymore. Not if the person we thought was behind the threats had now gone missing. Back in the city, everything felt heavier. The streets louder, the air thicker. Even our apartment, which had finally started to feel like a home, looked unfamiliar, like it had been waiting for something or someone. Ethan checked every room twice. I changed the locks again. We didn't say it out loud, but we both felt it. The eye of the storm had passed. Something worse was coming. Emily met us at a quiet diner near her place. She looked thinner, not physically, but in spirit, like something had hollowed her out from the inside. I don't know who to trust anymore, she said, pushing a cup of untouched coffee aside. Nathan was unstable. Yeah, but this feels bigger. What do you mean? Ethan asked. I think someone was feeding his paranoia, making him believe things. About you, about me, about being watched. I leaned in. Like what? Like that he was being followed. That you two were plotting something. That people were watching him through his phone, his laptop. He was writing things down. Journals. Notes. Like he was trying to map out something he couldn't explain. Ethan's voice lowered. Do you have any of it? She nodded slowly. I kept one notebook. Didn't show the cops. Thought they'd just toss it. She reached into her bag and slid it across the table. It was worn, black cover, pages frayed. Inside, scribbles, red ink, maps, names, symbols, rambling words connected with arrows. And near the back, a photo, old, of a boy. Ethan's face went still. That's me. What? I said, that's me, from middle school. I remember that shirt. Why would Nathan have a photo of you from that long ago? Emily looked down, then spoke slowly. Because our dad used to be his gym teacher. Ethan's jaw dropped. Your dad was Mr. Collins? She nodded. He never liked you. He failed me in PE and called me soft. He told Nathan you were dangerous. Dangerous? Not physically, but morally. He said kids like you were a threat, that you'd infect others. Nathan looked up to him, worshipped him. I felt my stomach turn. You think this goes back that far? I think it never left. Ethan closed the journal slowly. This wasn't just about the wedding. No, I said, this was about identity, about control, about fear dressed up as morality. Emily swallowed hard. He disappeared 2 days ago. But I don't think he's running from you. I think he's running from whoever fed him the lies in the first place. That night, Ethan and I sat in the dark on the living room floor. We didn't talk much, just let the weight of it all settle into the silence. I'm tired of being afraid, he whispered. So am I. He looked at me. Do you ever regret this? Us. I didn't even blink. Never. Even with the threats, the danger, especially because of it. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead against mine. I spent years hiding because I thought loving you would ruin my life. And now I know it saved it. We kissed, not like a fairy tale ending, but like a battle cry, like we were choosing to fight. For each other, for the truth, for the right to love out loud without punishment. 3 days later, the final envelope arrived. This one was different. No threats, no photos, just a single sheet of paper. On it, typed in block letters. I was wrong about you. Both of you. I'm going away. Don't look for me. No signature. But we knew who it was from, and for the first time in months, we felt something close to peace. It wasn't justice. It wasn't closure. But it was an ending. Or maybe a beginning. The world didn't suddenly get easy. Ethan still had awkward phone calls with his parents. People still whispered when we walked into certain rooms together. There were still looks, still judgment, still reminders of how far we had to go. But we weren't hiding anymore. We went grocery shopping like a couple. We held hands in public. We built routines, made inside jokes, started dreaming about maybe buying a place together. One day, he turned to me while brushing his teeth and said, "Do you ever think about what we'd be like 5 years from now? What, like boring and domesticated?" No, just safe, unafraid. I smiled. That's not 5 years from now. That's right now. Sometimes love doesn't knock. Sometimes it breaks the door down, leaves a mess, makes you bleed a little. But when it stays, when it picks up the pieces and hands them back to you one by one, that's when you know it's real. And Ethan? He's the mess I'd pick again. Every time. It was early spring when Ethan's mom called. I remember because the light coming to the window had that soft golden quality, the kind that makes even the dust in the air feel beautiful. He answered without hesitation. That alone told me everything had changed. "Hi, Mom," he said. A pause. "No, I'm okay." Better, actually. I stepped into the kitchen quietly, not wanting to intrude. But I listened, because the way he spoke to her, cautious but hopeful, felt like something sacred. Like watching a person come home to a part of themselves they thought they'd lost. "Yeah, I'm with him right now. No, I'm not hiding anything anymore." That him was me, and I knew it was the first time he'd said that out loud to her. When he hung up, he looked lighter, like a chain had loosened, even just slightly. "She wants to visit," he said. "Here." "Yeah." She said she wants to meet you. "You think she means that in a good way?" He shrugged. "Honestly, I don't know, but I think She's trying. We spent the whole week preparing. Not in the superficial sense. There was no deep cleaning frenzy or wardrobe panic. It was more emotional than that. Ethan kept circling the question he couldn't say out loud. What if she looks at me like I'm a stranger? I could see in the way he hesitated before finishing his sentences. The way he stared at childhood photos like they belonged to someone else. The way he kept glancing toward the door, even when no one was coming. I didn't have answers for him, but I had a hand to hold. And sometimes that's enough. When she finally arrived, she didn't say much at first. Her hair was shorter than I expected. She wore a long beige coat and held a small bag in front of her, like a shield. Ethan opened the door, nervous. "Hi, Mom." She looked at him for a long moment, then stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him without saying a word. I don't think I'd ever seen him cry so fast. Not out of sadness, not even relief, but out of recognition, out of the realization that sometimes people do try. They sat on the couch for almost an hour before she even acknowledged me. Not rudely, just slowly, like she needed time to look at her son first. To match the face she remembered with the man sitting in front of her. When she finally turned to me, she gave a small smile. "You're the one who makes him brave," she said softly. It wasn't approval, not exactly, but it wasn't rejection either. It was the beginning of something, and that was enough. That evening, while Ethan stepped out to pick up dinner, I sat with her alone. The air between us was intense. It was thick, like two people who knew they shared something important, but didn't yet know how to speak about it. She looked at me carefully. "You know, he always used to hum when he was little," she said. "But after middle school, he stopped. We thought it was just a phase." "It wasn't," I said. "No, I know that now." She stared at the photo frame on the wall. Ethan and I on a hiking trail, cheeks flushed, sunlight catching the corner of our smiles. "Do you love him?" she asked. "More than anything." She nodded slowly. "Good. Just don't let him disappear into someone else again." That line hit harder than I expected, because I knew exactly what she meant. Ethan came back holding takeout and 2 large sodas like it was any other night. He was grinning, like a boy who'd finally been seen. And somehow, despite everything, we ate dinner like a family. Not a perfect one, but a real one. Later that night, after she left for her hotel, Ethan pulled me into bed and didn't say a word for a long time. He just held me. Then quietly, she said I was brave. "You believe that?" "I do. I don't always feel it." "You don't have to. That's what makes it real." He nodded into the space between us. "Do you ever think about what's next?" "Like what?" "Like us. Where this goes." "All the time. And I want to go everywhere with you." He smiled, eyes glassy. "Even after everything?" "Especially after everything." The next morning we got another letter. No return address. Inside, a single sentence typed. "Just because I left doesn't mean it's over." Ethan's hands trembled. "Do you think it's Nathan? Or someone pretending to be?" "What do we do now?" "We live." We filed a new police report. Saved the letter. Updated the cameras. But we didn't hide. That night, we went to our favorite diner. We sat in a booth, ate fries, watched people walk past the windows. And when Ethan reached for my hand across the table, I didn't flinch, because the fear may still be there. But so was love, and love was louder. Back home, as I was brushing my teeth, Ethan walked in, holding something behind his back. He looked nervous. "What's that?" I asked, mouthful of foam. Something stupid, or maybe not. He held it out. A ring box. My heart stopped. He opened it. Inside, a simple band. Silver. No engraving. "I'm not proposing." "Not yet," he said quickly, laughing a little. I wanted to give you something. Because even when I was pretending not to be who I was, you never pretended not to love me." I swallowed. "You're giving me a pre-engagement ring?" "A promise." "That sounds dangerously romantic." "I'm okay with that." I pulled him in. We kissed. And somewhere in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't a rebound love. This wasn't a secret. This was home. The next few days passed quietly. No letters. No calls. No more ghosts. Ethan's mom called to say she'd gotten home safe. Asked for more photos of us. Said she'd share them with his dad. Eventually, it wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And that's all we needed. One afternoon, I found Ethan sitting by the window with a notebook. He was sketching something. "What's that?" I asked. He turned it around. It was a floor plan. A house. I said, smiling, "Our house." "You're designing it already?" "I've been dreaming about it for years." "And what do we put in the front yard?" "A tree." "Why?" "Because someday I want to tell our kids we planted it the day we stopped being afraid." I kissed him, hard, because this man, the one who almost married someone else, who once ran from who he was, had become the bravest person I knew. And I wasn't just in love with him. I was proud of him. But stories like ours, they're never quiet forever. Because 2 days later, a stranger knocked on our door. A man in a gray hoodie, clean-shaven, quiet eyes. Ethan opened the door halfway. "Can I help you?" he asked. "I think you already did," the man said. "But now, I think I owe you something." He held up a small envelope. "What's this?" "Closure." Then he walked away. We stood there frozen, watching him disappear down the hallway, out the door into the world. Ethan opened the envelope slowly. Inside, a single photo of Nathan, smiling, with a note on the back. "I'm done hiding. Thank you for not chasing me. I'm learning how to be a brother again." And just like that, something in Ethan let go. A breath he'd been holding for years. He turned to me, eyes shining. "I think we're free now." We always were. We didn't talk about the envelope for days. Not because we were scared, but because we didn't need to. It was one of those rare moments in life where silence said everything, that a chapter had closed, and maybe for the first time, we didn't have to fear what came next. So we lived. Coffee in the mornings. Lazy afternoons with our feet tangled on the couch. Movie nights where we never finished a film because we got distracted by laughter or kisses or both. It felt like something normal. But for us, it was a miracle. One evening, we went for a walk through the park. The air smelled like damp grass and honeysuckle, and the sky was that perfect blend of lavender and gold. Ethan reached for my hand, and I didn't even flinch. Not like the first time, when we were freshmen. Not like the second time, when he was still trying to be someone else. Now it was instinct, natural, free. He squeezed it once. "I've been thinking," he said, eyes on the sky. Dangerous start. "What if we got out of the city for real? Like, bought a place, built something that's ours." "You mean actually use that floor plan in your notebook?" "I'm serious." "So am I." We walked a little further, past a family tossing frisbees, past a kid playing guitar on a bench, past a teenage couple wrapped in a blanket on the grass, completely unaware of the world around them. "I want that," he said softly, nodding toward the couple. "Not the blanket, the freedom. I think we already have it. I want more." And that was the moment I realized something. Ethan was no longer the boy who ran. He was the man who stayed. That night, I got an email, a job offer, out of nowhere. One of those, "we saw your work online" kind of opportunities. From a media company in Seattle. Big name, bigger paycheck. And most importantly, it meant relocation. "Wow!" Ethan said, rereading the email the next morning. "This is huge." "Yeah. You're not excited?" "I don't know. I mean, I didn't apply for anything. It just came to me." He tilted his head. "So the universe is sending you signs now?" "Maybe. And what is it saying? That we might have to decide what home really means." He went quiet. Not cold, just thoughtful. "Would you go?" he asked. "Not without you." That made him smile, but only a little. I spent so long trying to make peace with who I am in this city. I'm scared if I leave, I'll lose that. Or maybe you'll carry it with you. What if I don't? Then I'll remind you, every day, until you believe it again. He leaned into my chest and whispered, I hate how hard this is. That's how you know it matters. We didn't make a decision that day, or the next, but something had shifted. The calm after the storm had turned into something more delicate, the kind of quiet that comes before a storm, but not from fear, from change. And change has its own kind of gravity. That weekend, we drove out of the city, not far, just a couple hours to a small lakeside town neither of us had ever been to. We rented a little cabin again. No tech, just trees, water, and us. He brought the ring box. I brought the email. We didn't talk about either until the second night, sitting under the stars with cheap wine and a blanket wrapped around us. You could say yes, he whispered. Not if it means leaving you behind. You wouldn't be. You'd come. I don't know. That's not an answer. I know. A pause. Then, I love you, I said. Not just in the comfortable, cozy way. I love you in the I'd move my whole life to stay near you kind of way. He didn't cry, but he looked like someone who'd been waiting their entire life to be spoken to like that. You always know what to say. Only when it's true. He took out the ring box. Opened it again. Not a proposal. Not yet, but a reminder, a promise. Then let's figure this out together, he said. No fear, no running, just us. Back in the city, we made a plan. He'd talked to his boss about remote options. I'd take a short visit to Seattle to meet the company face to face. We weren't deciding in panic. We were preparing in peace. And in that peace, something beautiful happened. We grew up, together. 2 weeks passed. No more letters. No more warnings. Ethan's mom texted almost daily now. Photos, recipes, even a few awkward, hi sweetheart messages that made him laugh and cringe in equal measure. We started saying ours instead of mine. We grocery shopped like pros. We talked about plants and tiles and where we put a record player in the new place, even though we didn't own a record player. And through it all, Ethan became lighter, not just happy, free. And watching him, it made me fall in love with him all over again. Then the night before my trip to Seattle, we went out to dinner. Nothing fancy, just a local place we liked. The one with the string lights and the weird jazz playlist that always skipped during dessert. We sat across from each other, hands grazing under the table. You nervous? He asked. A little. Why? Because I've never wanted something this badly and also been so afraid to reach for it. He reached across the table and took my hand. You reached for me, and it changed everything. He smiled. Whatever happens in Seattle, just know I'm proud of you, of us, of this. Even if we move, especially if we move. I wanted to bottle that moment, because for a long time, I didn't believe we'd ever get to have one like it. After dinner, we walked back in the cool night air. Ethan leaned his head on my shoulder like a boy, even though he wasn't one anymore. We stopped at the front steps. He turned to me. Come back to me, okay? Always. Then we kissed, not with urgency, not with desperation, but with gratitude, with certainty, with love. Seattle was colder than I remembered, not just in temperature, in vibe. Everything felt sharp and glassy. Buildings that touched the clouds. People rushing down sidewalks like their lives were set to fast forward. It wasn't bad. It was just different. And different always feels lonely when you're not sharing it with the person you love. I checked into the hotel and stood by the window longer than necessary, looking at the skyline, wondering what Ethan would think, how his hand would feel in mine on these strange new streets. Whether he'd point at the needle in the sky and say something poetic or sarcastic. Both, probably. That first night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was scared, but because I missed him. And that scared me more than anything. The meeting went well. Better than well. The team was warm, smart, genuinely excited. The position was tailored to my skills. Room for growth. Creative freedom. Salary bump. Full relocation package. They even asked about Ethan. Would your partner be moving with you? We're figuring that out, I said. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to explain or justify. Just speak. That night, I called him. How's it going? He asked. Really good. Like, scarily good. That's not scary. That's success. I just wish you were here to see it. I will be soon. Promise? You know I hate breaking promises. And I did know. The next morning, something strange happened. I got a message. Blocked number. No name. Just a photo of Ethan standing outside our apartment, looking over his shoulder. Alone. I stared at it for minutes, checking the timestamp, the shadows, the angle. It was recent. Too recent. I called him immediately. No answer. Then again. Nothing. Panic bubbled up in my chest like acid. I texted, "Are you okay? Please respond." Now, finally, after what felt like hours but was maybe 5 minutes, he called back. "Hey, sorry, I was in the shower. You're okay?" "Yeah. Why? What's going on?" I hesitated. Someone sent me a photo of you from today, outside the apartment. What? It was close, like someone's watching. He was silent for a moment. Then, quietly, I thought it was over. Me too. When I got back 2 days later, everything looked normal. Too normal. Like a movie set. Like someone had carefully arranged our lives to appear untouched. Ethan hugged me like he hadn't seen me in months. His hands gripped tighter than usual. His heartbeat was fast. "Any more photos?" he asked. "No." Weird messages. Just silence. That's somehow worse. I know. We sat in the living room in the dark for a long time. No TV. No music. Just us listening for something we couldn't name. Later that night, while unpacking, I noticed something odd. One of Ethan's sketchbooks was missing. The one with the house plans. "You didn't move it?" I asked. "No, I haven't touched it." "Are you sure?" "Positive. I checked drawers, shelves, the closet. Gone. You think someone—" "I don't know," he cut in. "But I don't like this. We locked the door. We thought we locked out the past too." His voice was trembling, and I hated that more than anything. We called the building manager. He said no cameras in the hallways, no signs of break-in. But he did mention something. "Someone came by asking for you two last week." "Who?" "Didn't leave a name. Just said they were an old friend. But they didn't look friendly." "What do they look like?" "Tall. Beard. Wore a cap low. Said he used to live in the building." Ethan's face went pale. "Nathan," he whispered. "He's gone," I said. We both got his letter. That doesn't mean he's alone. That line haunted me. That weekend, Ethan's mom called. Not to chat, to confess. "There's something I never told you," she said to Ethan. "Back in high school, Nathan and his father, they filed a complaint against you." "What kind of complaint?" "That you made him uncomfortable. That you were inappropriate in the locker room." Ethan looked like he'd been punched. "Why would they do that?" "Because your teacher was Nathan's dad. And he hated, well, you know what he hated?" I stayed quiet listening. "The school never told you because the complaint wasn't verified. But I knew. I got a letter. I didn't say anything because I thought it would protect you." Ethan didn't speak. He just folded inward. His mom's voice softened. "I was wrong, and I'm sorry." When she hung up, Ethan just stared at the floor. "So it started way before Emily, before the engagement, before us. It started with fear," I said, "and now it's ending with us standing up." "What if it never ends?" I walked over, knelt in front of him, took his hands. Then we outlasted. That night, we talked about Seattle again. But this time, it wasn't hypothetical. "I say yes," I told him. "You sure?" "Not even a little. But I want a life with you. Somewhere new. Somewhere we build together. That matters more than fear. Even if the past follows us, we'll face it. Together." He smiled, then reached into the drawer. The ring box. Again. But this time, it wasn't a promise. It was a question. No kneeling, no grand speech. Just a soft voice asking, "Will you marry me?" I blinked, then laughed, then cried, then whispered, "Yes." And suddenly, all the fear, all the running, all the hiding, it felt like it had led to this moment, this beautiful, terrifying, perfect moment. 2 days later, another envelope arrived, but this time it wasn't anonymous. It had a return address. Seattle. Inside, a single note. "You chose love. I couldn't. I hope you don't regret it." No threats, no rage, just a signature. Nathan. Ethan folded the letter slowly, then burned it in the sink, and we watched it curl into ash together. Planning a wedding is supposed to be stressful, but planning our wedding? It felt weirdly peaceful. No drama, no screaming matches, no one threatening to disown anyone. Just two men, flipping through color palettes and cake samples, try to figure out if a navy blue suit would make Ethan look too much like a politician. He hated that. "If I wear this," he said, holding up a mock-up, "I'll look like I'm running for office." That's not the worst outcome. Maybe you can pass a law that makes it illegal to ghost your fiancé for more than 10 minutes. Bold of you to assume I wouldn't use my power for petty revenge. We both laughed. It was moments like that, light, simple, that made the whole thing feel real. Like we were finally living our truth without looking over our shoulders. But life, as we'd learned, has a way of knocking just when the door finally feels closed. Seattle was just a month away. I'd accepted the job. We'd signed the lease. Ethan's job had approved his remote work. We were even planning to road trip there instead of fly. One last adventure before we started our new chapter. And then came the letter. Again. But this one wasn't from Nathan. It was from Emily. Yes, that Emily. His almost wife. The one he left at the altar. Her handwriting was unmistakable. I recognized it from the RSVP cards, still buried in a box somewhere, unopened. Inside, a single page. But what it said shook us both. "I know now why you left. I wish you had told me earlier. But I understand. I'm getting married again. This time, I'm the one saying yes for the right reasons. I hope you are too." And at the bottom, "P.S. Tell him he was always the one you talked about the most." I just didn't realize it then. Ethan stared at the letter for a long time. "She knew," he whispered. "She figured it out eventually. Do you think she hates me?" "Honestly, I think she respects you more than most people do. I never wanted to hurt her." "You didn't. You set her free." He folded the letter carefully, put it in a drawer. "Then I think it's time I forgive myself." That night, we drank wine and built furniture. Not the romantic kind of furniture building you see in movies. The frustrating, swear-word-heavy kind with missing screws and cryptic diagrams. But we were laughing, sweaty, tired, happy, and at some point mid-sip, Ethan looked up from a half-assembled bookshelf and said, "Do you ever think we weren't supposed to make it?" "I used to, but now, I think we were always supposed to. We just had to go through hell first. And what if more hell comes? Then we'll hold each other through that too." He reached over and touched my face. "I don't know how I ever lived without you. You didn't. You just waited for me." A few days later, Ethan got quiet. Not in a distant way, just slower, thoughtful, like his brain was somewhere else. But his heart was still sitting beside me. "What's on your mind?" I asked one night. He hesitated. "Seattle. Cold feet." "Not exactly. Just, I keep thinking about how much I've changed here. In this city, in this apartment, with you. What if leaving changes me again? What if I lose myself?" "You won't, because you're not running anymore. You're walking towards something." He nodded, but there was a wrinkle in his brow that didn't leave for hours. I think that's the first time I realized. Ethan wasn't scared of leaving. He was scared of finally being happy. Because for people like us, people who fought their whole lives to be seen, to be loved honestly, joy can feel like a trap, like it's too good to be real. We visited his mom before the move. She made lasagna, talked about redecorating, showed us a photo of a kitten she adopted named pickles that Ethan instantly demanded weekly updates on. But then she got serious. "I want you to know something," she said. "I may not have understood at first, but I'm proud of you now, both of you. And if Seattle is where you become who you're meant to be, then go. Don't look back." Ethan choked up. I held his hand under the table. Sometimes love takes a while to arrive, but when it does, it speaks with full hearts. Then came the unexpected. The day before our goodbye party, someone knocked on our door. We thought it was a neighbor. It wasn't. It was Ethan's dad. He looked older than I remembered, grayer, shoulders hunched. His eyes found Ethan and didn't move. "I heard you were leaving," he said. Ethan's voice was low. "You heard right. Your mother told me. She also told me everything else." Silence. "I'm not here to fix anything," he added. I didn't want the last thing I said to you to be a door slamming." "You said more than that," Ethan said quietly. "I know. You said I was an embarrassment. I was wrong." The room felt like glass, delicate, breakable. "You're marrying him?" his dad asked, glancing at me. Ethan nodded. "Do you love him?" "More than anything." His dad exhaled, slowly. Then, "Congratulations." It wasn't much, but it was more than we ever expected. After he left, Ethan sat on the floor for a long time, not crying, not talking, just breathing. And when he finally spoke, he said, "It's weird. Forgiveness feels heavier than anger sometimes, because it comes with hope." He looked up at me. "I think I'm ready now." For Seattle? For everything. The goodbye party was beautiful. Friends, laughter, bad cake, worse dancing. Everyone signed a giant poster we hung by the door. "You both deserve the world." I remember reading that line later that night, thinking, yeah, maybe we finally do. And just like that, the boxes were sealed, the keys returned, the apartment empty, but not hollow, because the life we built there, it wasn't ending. It was expanding. We hit the road early. 2 backpacks, 1 suitcase, a bag of snacks that was mostly candy, and 1 worn notebook. Ethan's sketches, the ones that once disappeared but somehow reappeared under our bed the week before. We didn't question it. Some things didn't need answers anymore. Seattle was waiting. But first, the road. We had playlists, gas station coffee, and hours to talk about everything and nothing. "What's the first thing we do when we get there?" I asked, adjusting my sunglasses as we pulled onto the highway. "Buy a plant." "A plant?" "Yeah, something green, alive, something that says, 'Hey, we're staying. What if I kill it?' Then we replace it and never speak of it again." We laughed. It felt light, free, like we were really leaving the weight behind. And for the first time in forever, neither of us looked back. We stopped overnight in a small mountain town, the kind of place with 1 diner, a single blinking traffic light, and a motel that smelled faintly of cinnamon and bleach. It was quiet, still. After dinner, we sat on the hood of the car, wrapped in a blanket, looking at the stars. "We're really doing this," Ethan whispered. "Yeah, we are. Do you ever get scared? Like maybe we're rushing it?" "Every day. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." He smiled. "You always say the right thing. Only with you." We kissed, and I swear the stars looked closer that night. The next day, somewhere just past the state line, we stopped for gas. Ethan went in to grab drinks. I waited, humming along to the radio. Then I saw him, a figure at the edge of the lot, leaning against a black car, watching. It took a second to register. But when it did, my stomach dropped. Nathan, older, thinner, eyes tired, but still him. Before I could react, Ethan walked out with 2 bottles of water. He stopped in his tracks. "Is that?" "Yeah." Nathan stepped forward slowly, hands visible, face calm. "I don't want trouble," he said. "I just want a conversation." "There's nothing left to say," Ethan replied, voice flat. "I think there is. You disappeared. Then you reappeared to scare us. Then disappeared again. I wasn't trying to scare you. I was trying to let go." Ethan's jaw clenched. You followed us. No, I heard through mutual friends. I was already passing through. I didn't expect to see you. But when I did, I thought maybe it was time. Time for what? Nathan looked at me, then back at Ethan, to say I'm sorry. For everything. The silence between us felt cold and sharp. Ethan didn't say anything. So I stepped in. You hurt him. Deeply. I know. You humiliated him. Gaslit him. Abandoned him. Yes. Why now? Nathan looked down. Because I thought if I didn't say it, I'd never heal either. Ethan exhaled slowly, then said, I don't forgive you. Nathan's face fell. But Ethan continued, I'm done letting you live in my head. So if this is your apology, fine. I hear it, but don't contact us again. Ever. Nathan nodded once. That's fair. He turned to walk away, but just before getting into his car, he paused. You found love, he said. I hope I find that too someday. Then he was gone. The rest of the drive was quiet. Not awkward, just thoughtful. Ethan watched the trees roll by for a long time before speaking. Do you think he meant it? The apology? Yeah, probably. But it doesn't fix anything. No, but maybe it lets you stop carrying it. He nodded. That's all I ever wanted. I reached over, laced my fingers through his, and we drove into a new beginning. Seattle was gray when we arrived. Not gloomy, just soft, like a muted song. Our new apartment was on the 3rd floor. Big windows. A view of a coffee shop with rainbow flags in the windows. Fitting. We unpacked slowly. Hung the photo of us from the hiking trip on the wall. Placed the ring box in the drawer, beside the bed. Bought a small potted plant named Carl. And for the first time in years, it felt like home. We made breakfast the next morning. He burned the toast. I forgot the coffee filter. It was perfect. And then came the email. A simple one. Subject, TV pitch request. From a documentary producer. Saw your engagement story online. Would love to talk about a short film on queer love and chosen family. Interested? Ethan looked at me. Us? In a film? You scared? A little. Me too. But maybe we say yes anyway. And that became our new rule. Say yes, even if your voice shakes. That night, we stood on the balcony, looking out over our new city. Lights twinkling, cars humming. Ethan leaned into me. You know, he said, I always thought love was supposed to be calm. Easy. Isn't it? No. It's messy, hard, scary. But the right person makes the chaos feel worth it. So I'm your chaos. You're my reason for surviving it. We stood there in silence. And I realized this wasn't a story about being gay, or running away, or secrets. This was a story about choosing someone again and again, even when it would be easier not to. This was a story about love. Ours. And it wasn't over. Not even close. Seattle felt like a second skin now. We had a routine. Morning walks for overpriced coffee. Evening playlists while cooking dinner barefoot. Sundays spent in bookstores or lost in antique shops, arguing over vintage clocks we'd never actually buy. The kind of normal that people like us don't always believe we get to have. But here it was, and it was ours. The documentary producer followed up a week later. Her name was Meredith. Warm voice. Laugh like a violin string. Gentle but clear. I don't want to make it tragic, she said. I want to make it real. Love, not labels. We agreed, not because we wanted attention, but because maybe, just maybe, some scared kid out there might see two men loving each other and believe it was possible for them too. They filmed in our apartment, on the balcony, at the coffee shop with the rainbow flags. Ethan, usually private, opened up like he'd been waiting years to be asked the right questions. At one point, Meredith asked him, "What does love look like to you now?" He paused, then turned to me and said, "It looks like him." I didn't cry. Okay, I absolutely cried. The film was short, only 12 minutes, but it spread like wildfire online. Comments from strangers, supportive messages. One that just said, You made me believe again. Ethan read it 3 times, then whispered, maybe it was worth all the pain. Spring arrived fast, and with it, wedding season. But this time it was our turn. We planned something simple. Not in a church, not in a hall, just us. A small garden behind a friend's cafe, a dozen close people, and vows written in our own uneven handwriting. My sister flew in from Boston. Ethan's mom brought Pickles the cat in a pink carrier with rhinestones. And just before the ceremony, Ethan stood beside me, holding my hand with a nervous smile. Can you believe this? He asked. Not even a little. What if I mess up my vows? Then I'll still love you. More probably. Promise? Always. I went first, told him how he changed my definition of bravery, how every scar he carried made me want to protect him more, how his laugh rewrote the rhythm of my days. Then he spoke. I used to think love was something you earned, he said, that you had to suffer for it, prove you deserved it. But then you came along, and you didn't ask me to prove anything. You just stayed through everything. And now, I don't want perfect. I want you in every version, every chapter, every storm. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden. Even Pickles meowed dramatically. And when the officiant said, you may now kiss, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning we'd already fought so hard to reach. The reception was chaos. Happy, joyful, wine-fueled chaos. Ethan danced with his mom. I danced with my sister. Someone's uncle tried to do the worm and pulled a hamstring. It was perfect. Late that night, as the guests thinned and the fairy lights flickered low, Ethan and I sat barefoot on the grass, suits wrinkled, hands still holding tight. So this is it, he said. The beginning. No regrets. Only that I didn't kiss you sooner. I think we made up for it. We laughed, kissed, and let the quiet settle around us. The kind of quiet that feels like home. Weeks passed, then months. Seattle bloomed around us. Ethan started teaching art classes at a local center. I got promoted to lead editor. We hosted movie nights, burned cookies, adopted a second plant named Riley, and had ridiculous debates about whether dogs should be allowed in coffee shops. They should. But through it all, we never stopped choosing each other, even on the hard days. Especially then. One rainy Thursday, a letter arrived. No envelope, just folded once, with the both of you written on the front. Inside it read, I saw the video. I'm not brave enough to say this in person, but I wanted you to know you made me think. You made me hope. Maybe someday I'll be where you are. Until then, thank you for showing me it's possible. No name, no return address. But Ethan stared at it for a long time, then placed it on the fridge. Let's keep it there, he said. So we never forget why we kept going. Some nights, we still talked about the past, about Nathan, about Emily, about the version of us that almost never was. But it never hurt the same. It was just a reminder of where we came from and how far we traveled to get here. One evening, I came home to find Ethan sitting on the balcony, sketchbook in his lap. He looked up, smiling softly. I think I'm finally ready. For what? The house. The one from the sketchbook? Yeah, somewhere just outside the city. Big windows. 2 bedrooms. 1 cat. Maybe even a garden. You want to build it? With you. Always with you. So maybe this isn't a story of a perfect romance. Maybe it's a story of how 2 people, bruised, scared, deeply human, chose each other anyway. Again, and again, and again. Maybe it's a story of how love doesn't erase the past, but it reclaims it, makes something beautiful from the ashes. And maybe, just maybe, this story ended the only way it ever could. Not with goodbye, but with a hand held tightly in the dark, a kiss pressed softly against the truth, and the quiet, steady promise. Forever starts here. Ever had someone confess their feelings too late? Drop it if it hit you hard.